Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to All Chiefed Up. We're back with another podcast for that ass. And today we're taking a look at 7 realistic trade targets presented by Arrowhead Addict, breaking them down. Steve, let's talk about it.
Before we get the show started, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, visit our Patreon, patreon.com/allchiefedup. Become a member, get an extra bonus episode every week. Mike, let's talk about these trade targets we got here.
Let's talk about them. Arrowhead Addict throws out an article, 7 realistic trade targets for the Kansas City Chiefs before the NFL's trade deadline. Steve, that is on October 31st, Halloween, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so who do you think they're going to throw out? Number 1, wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown from the Arizona Cardinals. They said why this move makes sense. For the Chiefs, this makes sense for a whole host of reasons. The biggest is that no one outside of Travis Kelce appears to be able to create separation. Kadarius Toney was touted as the future number 1 all offseason, and it appears as though things are not working out as expected. They need a true number 1. Steve, I threw out Hollywood Brown the other day as a possible target. That has taken off throughout Chiefs Kingdom. Now Hollywood Brown is the focal point. They've got him number 1 on their list. I feel like I may have thrown that one out there. I don't know about it.
I think they've talked about it before in the past, but this year, you're definitely the first one to bring it up that I can think of. Either way, I think it's a pretty decent target. If you're actually going to go after a receiver, which, by the way, I'll preface this, was I don't think that Brett Veach and the Chiefs are going to go after anybody.
Right.
But if they were to, this would be a good one, man. I think that he fits into the Andy Reid scheme pretty well. I also think he's pretty good, and he's not really hit his full potential yet because of who he's been playing with.
Right. He's playing on a rookie contract. They had to give up a lot to get him. They had to give up a lot. He likes playing with Kyler Murray because of their college days. I don't know who would want to play with Kyler Murray in the NFL. He's not that great. But yeah, I'd want to come over to the Chiefs. If they made me a trade target, I'd want to go to the Chiefs. I'd want out of Arizona. That's a dumpster fire over there. Marquise Brown can break the zone. He's a zone buster. He can also execute on man-to-man. He puts up a lot of stats. I like him in our offense. To me, he's a wide receiver in the mold of the old Andy Reid receivers and say the Tyreek Hills of the world. We know how to use those guys. We don't know how to use the Justin Rosses of the world. This is becoming pretty obvious because Justin Ross should be getting more targets.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be nice to see Justin Ross get in there and get some more snaps, see what he can actually do. That's all Chief Kingdom has been screaming for for a year now. They want to see Justin Ross on the field. They're not getting what they want. I don't think you're going to get much more going forward, even though we have the injury with Justin Watson. Also, you got Richie James on the IR. So, I mean, we are down to 5 guys, and Andy Reid loves 5 guys.
Right, and the hamburgers, yeah. Justin Watson, man, they just cleared him with his MRI. They said the elbow, it was clean, everything's good. He should be back in a few weeks. But that's leading Chiefs Kingdom to want more Justin Ross, Rashee Rice, people to get more targets. And does a trade necessarily help these guys? I don't know. We'll go on to number 2. Number 2 on the list, another wide receiver, Steve. The Giants, Darius Slayton. They think we're going to go after another Giants wide receiver at the trade deadline. And, yeah. You can read it if you want. I'm not going to go through that whole thing, but Darius Slayton, Steve. What do you think of Darius Slayton? I'm not a big fan of Darius Slayton. I don't think he actually helps. I think he's more of the same.
Right. So this was a popular talking point in the offseason, actually. There were a lot of other Chiefs channels and a lot of talking heads that were talking about Darius Slayton to the Chiefs. So this is old news as well. We've heard about Marquise Brown before. We've heard about Darius Slayton before. None of these two surprise me. If I were to choose between the two, I'm going with Marquise.
Hollywood all day long. Let's move on to number 3. This one is a 2-parter. They say Cortland Sutton, or Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos. Why this makes sense, I get it. Divisional opponents don't usually make trades with one another.
They won't.
They're not going to do it. I mean, we can pretty much just stop at that sentence.
Yeah,
I don't
you can throw that out.
Right. So you've seen it in the offseason. You've seen us trade the Raiders for a defensive tackle that we've played maybe 10 snaps on the entire season. What was his name? Neil Farrell. I'm sorry. I got Noah Fant on the mind here. Because why? Noah Fant is number 4. What in the world? We'll get back to Noah Fant in a second. But they said that Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, I don't think either one of them is being traded to the Chiefs. I don't think they load up the Chiefs like that, being an interdivisional rival. Broncos Wire did release a story today with Jerry Jeudy, and they asked him about the trade target, and they actually put the Chiefs on the cover, which I found to be interesting. And Jerry Jeudy had this to say. He said, at the end of the day, I'm going to do my part and do my job. I don't think about all that. I just think about I'll just be where my feet are. You feel me? So I can't think about the future. Blah, blah, blah. He's taking it day by day. Steve, do you think Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton, I'll get it right in a second.
Today,
Courtland
Junior.
Courtland Sutton.
Today,
Courtland
Junior.
Sutton?
Yeah.
Courtland
Too many L's in ours. Okay, look. Sutton, Jeudy, either way, I don't see either one of them come to the Chiefs.
Well, first of all, no. They're never going to trade either of them to the Chiefs. We don't want Courtland Sutton. We already know we don't know what to do with that type of receiver. Jerry Jeudy in our offense, however, would be very intriguing. I think he's one of the best route runners there are in the NFL. He's never lived up to his potential because of his landing spot. And I think that he could be a really freaking good receiver, especially in our offense. But that's up for debate as well, considering we've not seen any of our receivers do anything great so far. But no, neither one of them are going to get traded to the Chiefs. Not a chance.
Right. I actually looked at some stats today against man versus zone, different things. Actually, Courtland Sutton produces better against the zone than Jerry Jeudy. And he's not too far off on man-to-man either. So it's kind of weird to think Sutton may be a better all-around receiver than Jeudy because you wouldn't think about it. But the numbers kind of make it closer than it seems.
I don't think he is. But, yeah, I think he's got better numbers. I think Courtland Sutton's, looking better in that trash offense than Jerry Jeudy is. But I think overall, if you just look at, the route running, the speed, everything else, I think Jeudy makes more sense.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire either way you look at it over there in Denver. Let's move on. I said this already, but number 4 was Noah Fant.
Nope.
A tight end. They're talking about Kelsey's not getting whatever. He's not getting younger. A trio of Kelsey, Fant, and Noah Gray could spell doom for any defense without tremendous pass covering linebackers. To me, Noah Fant would seem like a luxury trade. Are we really, if you look at our team, does a tight end make sense with what our offensive struggles are? I don't see how that helps our wide receiver room at all.
Well, I know that a lot of people were wanting to go after Kyle Pitts when it was rumored that he could be traded. I didn't see the point then. And if I don't see the point to go after Kyle Pitts, I definitely don't see the point to go after Noah Fant. I don't think Noah Fant's really lived up to expectations in the NFL either. And I just don't see the room for him in our offense. I'm with you. I don't think tight end is a sore spot. I think wide receiver is where we would look before that. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this one.
Right. Off the top of my head, I think Noah Fant had 10 catches going into this past week. They just played the Bengals. The Bengals held him to 1 catch, 9 yards, I'm pretty sure. So don't need that. I also found this from All Seahawks FN. They were talking about Noah Fant being a cap casualty before this season even started and was talking about trading him, but they decided to go ahead and pick up his option and put him in the offense. So maybe he is on the trade block. I just don't see that being something the Chiefs would want to target. So we'll move on to number 5. This is another one that's very controversial in my opinion. I'll see what you think because you've not taken a look yet. Chuba Hubbard, running back from the Panthers. Why this makes sense, the Panthers invested heavily in Miles Sanders. The Panthers are nowhere close to being competitive. Why not be sellers at the deadline? I get it. That makes sense for Carolina, but why does that mean he should come to Kansas City? This is a Chiefs article. Why are you trying to help the Panthers? That doesn't really do a lot for the Chiefs right there.
That is terrible. So we're just going to act like that didn't exist.
Who's writing this stuff, by the way?
I don't know. That was rough. Keep going.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard. We'll move on. Number 6, another Carolina Panthers guy, Yetur Gross-Matos, who was drafted as a defensive end. They're kind of moving him around. They're kind of making him a stand-up linebacker on the edge. They said he would be fine here as a rotational piece in Kansas City. Look, this is being thrown out on the cusp of this as well. We've also seen this just in the past few days. Is Frank Clark coming back to Kansas City? A likely return to the Chiefs. It makes so much sense. What do you guys think about Frank Clark? It's all we've heard. Can we please stop trying to bring back like old defensive ends that really haven't played any this year in Denver? He was overpaid. He was way overpaid and never really lived up to a lot of expectations while he was here. One of Veach's worst contracts, to be honest, throughout the entirety of it. I like Frank Clark. You like Frank Clark. But when you look at the Chiefs team as a whole, does defensive ends stick off the board to you so bad that you're just going to start going out and trading for defensive ends at this point? Like, that's not the problem with the team so far, Steve.
Absolutely not. That's not a sore point for the Chiefs at all. I think we're actually pretty good on the defensive line, and we have Charles Omenihu coming back this next week. So that in itself kind of makes you think, why are we even talking about either of these trades? Well, the trade scenario or bringing back Frank Clark. I might be a player on Frank Clark if we could get him for really, really dirt cheap and just use him as that mentor, that veteran that we've had on the defensive line in the last few years.
Who are you going to cut off the team to make room for Frank Clark? Because we've got a lot of defensive ends in there.
Exactly. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not saying I am, but I would say I would be a player if it was super cheap just to have that veteran presence. And we know what he can do in the playoffs. I think it could be beneficial to the team, especially for the young guys, because I like the way that Frank was helping out George Karlaftis last year. I think he would do the same this year. And I think he might take Felix under his wing as well. So I'm not opposed to that. But I'm with you, man. What do? You go cutting people? You can't do that.
Dude, Chiefs fans are a special breed. Let me tell you, Chiefs fans do not like to cut ties with players. They want them here forever. I don't care if it's Kareem Hunt. I don't care if it's Eric Fisher. I don't care if it's Justin Houston. They'll go all the way back to somebody we had in 1980 and try to put them on the team this year. They cannot cut ties. Frank Clark is the newest one. And we just seen it a few weeks ago with Mecole Hardman. It was right before Frank Clark. Like, we cannot give up on players and just let them go and let Veach rotate in some new guys, let new guys develop. We cannot do it. And so we live in an era where Chiefs fans are literally, we make excuses for the offense not moving because Andy Reid's treating these games as practice games. Nobody is looking at any team and treating it as a practice game, guys. Like, this is the NFL.
Right. He's not saving players for the playoffs. He's not saving half his playbook for the playoffs. All of that is fantasy. Like, what you're seeing right now is this offense trying to figure out what the hell it's doing. And, yeah, I think they will, because that's pretty common with Andy Reid offenses for them to get started a little slow. But, hey, we'll see. I think they'll get it together soon.
Right, and you mentioned Omenihu's coming back. That's going to be a big boost for the defense. I just don't think you have to go out and make a trade for another defensive edge piece. I just don't see it. I don't think bringing back Frank Clark's a great idea, in my opinion. The other one was we'll just bring him back and he'll take a team-friendly deal and sit on the practice squad until the playoffs. Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, I'm sure Frank Clark's going to be down for that one. Have fun calling his agent and talking about that. Mecole Hardman, Steve, was the last one on the board, number 7, and it couldn't come at a greater time. Just talked about it. Mecole Hardman back to Kansas City. A lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans, because you did a short about it, and a lot of Chiefs fans are, let's bring him back. We have nothing to lose. Bring him back. He's better than what we got. Bring him back. Bring him back. To me, it still doesn't make a lot of sense. If Brett Veach wasn't willing to make the commitment to Mecole Hardman at the end of last year and they let him walk, and by the way, they made the commitment to Justin Watson, by the way. So they were ready to go pay a receiver, and they chose Justin Watson over Mecole Hardman. Right. I don't see them making room to bring back Mecole Hardman, and I don't really know what he does to make this offense that much better.
Nothing. He's got some speed, man. That's it. That's all Mecole Hardman is. I wouldn't bring him back. I'm just saying I don't think it's necessary. We're still looking at 5 wide receivers right now that haven't really lived up to their potential, but we know that all of them are good in their own right. We just got to figure out how to use them and how to get them up to that level. I don't think throwing Mecole Hardman in the mix is going to help any. I'm not a big fan of going after any wide receiver as a trade target before this trade deadline comes up, unless you're going after a big piece. If they want to make a big splash and go after a guy that we know can come in here and garner a double team, take some heat off of Kels, or vice versa, I'm all for that. But I do not see that happening at all. I don't want to bring in another mid receiver that's just going to clog it up and get everybody less snaps. I would like to see everyone's snap count not be so distributed, in my opinion. I think if they could just get like 3 or 4 on the field and give them the bulk of it and let them settle in and figure this offense out, I think things will start moving a little faster, coming along a little faster anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think all the rotation trying to find it, they've just not found it yet. And I think once they do, Andy's going to commit to it. Will we see more Justin Ross? Will we see more Rashee Rice? I think we're going to see more Rashee Rice.
He's earning
we've already seen it. We're already seeing it. I just don't know if Justin Ross, if you don't get Justin Ross in the next few weeks now that Justin Watson's out, that's just not going to happen.
Not this year.
They're not doing it this year. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, what would you think about us maybe calling up Tennessee, see if they got a little buyer's remorse on DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe they would throw out maybe, 4th round, 5th round pick for D-Hop. What do you think?
Nah, I'm done. I'm over it. I feel like he's already retired. He's already in that retirement mind frame. Did you see him today? I think it was his teammate Kyle Phillips that muffed a punt, and he came back to the sideline and he sat down beside DeAndre, and DeAndre got up and walked off. He didn't even want to sit beside him. He's so pissed off down there in Tennessee.
I was thinking that was the quarterback. Dude, by the way, DeAndre made his bed. He said, I want to go to a contender, and then he took the most money and went to a bad team with a bad quarterback.
So my question is, Mike, if the Chiefs decide they were going to bring back one of the guys that have been here before, which one would you rather have? Would you rather go ahead and grab Frank Clark, or would you get Mecole Hardman? Which one would you get?
Out of just those two? Jeez, I don't want neither one of them. I think Mecole Hardman probably makes the most immediate impact.
I don't. I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I think Mecole Hardman should never be anywhere near a Chiefs uniform ever again unless we're beating him into the ground. As far as Frank Clark, I think I see some value there if you bring him in, and he's rotational, he's cheap, he's got the experience, he's good in the playoffs, and he can help get some of these young guys along. I'm on the other side of the fence. I think Mecole Hardman's a no-go.
Do you see how you just asked me a question out of left field and then completely attacked me before I got finished, and you had a whole soliloquy set up to make me look like an idiot, by the way. And let me tell you something. You didn't even let me finish.
Act like I wrote it down.
I said Mecole Hardman would be better in the short term because Frank Clark stinks at this point in his career. Long term, yeah, maybe you could look to Frank Clark in the playoffs, but I ain't signing a guy all year long to sit on the bench to play in the playoffs for 3 plays. Like, it's not happening. That's dumb. Moving on.
That time's yours.
Time's yours, Chiefs Kingdom. We'll jump right in with comment numero uno. CJ Boyer. He says, I feel like I'm watching the 2015-2016 Chiefs right now. Receivers can't get open. The tight end running back screens over and over, and he's actually running the ball, and our defense is playing lights out. CJ, I'm kind of with you on the receivers can't get open. Are we really seeing a lot of tight end screens, though? I'm not really.
We've seen a few. We've seen a few out to Noah Gray and maybe a couple to Kels, but my thing is they're going to get this offense rolling. I know a lot of people's down on the receivers right now, and they say they can't get open, but I'm on the fence with that. I think we got receivers getting open. I think Patrick Mahomes isn't seeing them, or he don't trust to throw the ball out there. You've seen some still shots from the game, which are hard to go by the way, but you've seen some circulating on X, and there's one, I think it was the first drive of the game, where he's hyper-focused in on Kelce, and Sky Moore has got his guy beat by 2 steps.
I thought that was the one with Justin Watson. I thought that was Justin Watson up the sideline, and he had
maybe it is, maybe it's Watson. But either way, the whole argument is Patrick Surtain was on him, so he could close that gap in 0.2 seconds and smack that ball down. So that's why he didn't throw it. But to me, it looked like a good placed ball out there. That would have been a huge play. So I think it kind of goes back and forth. Dude. I'm not blaming everything on Mahomes, not by any stretch of the imagination, because I think the receivers are underperforming. But I do think some of them are getting open sometimes, and he's not seeing them for one reason or another.
I don't know which argument to take there because, yeah, sometimes they're getting open and he's missing them, and sometimes they're just not getting open.
Right.
So it's hard to blame any specific thing. Like, it just feels like it's not working. When people are screen grabbing stuff and putting that on X, that's absolutely ridiculous, by the way. You can make anything look good, and when I seen that, I was like, I probably don't throw that ball. It's the first play of the game, and they're setting in quarters defense, if not cover 3.
I would have thrown it.
There's really nothing there to do it. That safety's getting over there and making that play, by the way.
The safety was not in the picture there.
The safety was definitely on the hash.
I don't think he was a player in that. I don't.
Kareem Jackson, the best safety, one of them in the NFL. Shot there.
I'm just saying, could have took a shot.
On the first play of the game.
Why not?
Because they actually hit Kelce and drove the ball right down the field and got 7 points. I think we're just being a little tad bit ridiculous with this. And moving on. Comment number 2, Demarius Turner. She says, I agree 100%. Our offense is not good. Defense is definitely balling out and carrying our team. I don't know if it is Mahomes not trusting, so we just talked about this, or play calls. We've talked about that. And our receivers just aren't good enough. It's just frustrating. We're definitely not going to go far this year if this continues. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. I kind of agree. I think if the offense continues to sputter like this and we do not figure it out, no, we may go into the playoffs and be a one-and-done team, especially if you go up against an offensive buzzsaw like the Bills or Joe Burrow and them starting to get it back together. You don't want to run into that again. So I see it. I'm just not 100% convinced that Andy and this team is not capable of riding the ship, and I just think 6 weeks into the season is a little early to hit the complete panic button.
Yeah, for sure. I think do we have issues on the offensive side of the ball? Yes. But my thing is, Mike, I feel like we have the talent to be really good. I think it's there. Like, even with the receivers, people's been down on the receivers, but I still think MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Justin Ross, that's your 5 you got that are healthy right now. Every name on that list is good at something. And I think we've just got to figure out how to get these guys into the right place at the right times and all of that. I don't think there's an issue with talent. And we know Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are the best in the business. So offensive line has been pretty daggone solid. Our running game looks good. Pacheco's looking awesome this season. I think we have all the talent in the world in offense. I think we do get it together because if you want anybody trying to figure this thing out, it's Andy Reid. And you better bet that he's sitting up every night at night, not sleeping probably and everything, trying to figure this thing out. So I think him and Nagy, they'll right the ship. I think it'll be a good-looking offense by the end of the year. And if our defense continues to get better, this team's going to be a force, man.
Right. Well, there's about 90% of Chiefs Kingdom that think it's all Matt Nagy's fault and that we should now bring back Eric Bieniemy. Add him to the list of people we want back. I don't think we can ever move forward. I just don't think it's possible. We're a look-back kind of franchise, aren't we?
Look, I'm going to go ahead and declare this right here. Matt Nagy, by the end of the season, no one will be saying anything. They'll be saying that he's better than Eric Bieniemy because this offense is going to be humming, baby. Let's roll.
I hope you're more right about that than Sky Moore because he's been a bum. Okay, let's move on. Comment number 3. Deeds Dilla, dying to see Ross jump balls in the end zone. Red zone, my bad. Read that wrong.
Same thing.
I'm dying to see jump balls to anybody at this point. I don't think Mahomes really, besides Justin Watson, will just throw it up and let a receiver make a play. I think that's
about it.
Yeah, okay. But not another receiver. So you're not really – you've seen it one time from Justin Ross, and he looked good doing it. You've seen Justin Ross do this against the Browns in the preseason, come down with a touchdown in the end zone, or the Cardinals. I don't remember which one. Maybe the Cardinals too. Either way, I feel like we've got the talent to let the guys make the one-on-one plays, but Holmes is just not taking the shot, and I think it all revolves around trust. I just don't feel like he feels super comfortable with it. And when it's coming off of Mahomes, actually, so say, for example, the Jets, he was having trouble with his touch pass. He got picked off twice. Right. He goes into the game against Denver, gets his arm hit or something, gets it picked off in the end zone that time. I feel like Mahomes gets to the point to where if he feels like I don't want to say he's like scared to throw the ball because he wants to pad stats. That's not what I'm trying to come off with, but it's almost like he throws a few picks, so then he's like, well, I'm not going to take the crazy play here. We're just going to take with what's safe. And what's safe to Mahomes is always eyeing down Travis Kelce. And I feel like he just wants to play safe a lot of the times.
That's a possibility. I think it's more of he doesn't trust his receivers all the way. But at what point does he have to just say, hey, this is what they've gave me to work with. I gotta give them the shots. I got to give them the shots to prove themselves, and then maybe a connection can get made there. He can start building some trust. But until he starts throwing these balls out there to these guys, Mike, he's never going to build that rapport with them. He's not going to build that trust because he's not giving them a chance. So, like I said earlier, I'm not faulting Mahomes whatsoever. I think it's kind of ridiculous what they came into this season with him as receivers. I think they should have really looked at getting him a good receiver, and they didn't do it. They failed him on that. So I don't blame this on Mahomes whatsoever, but I do think he plays a part in it. I think, like I said, you just got to look at it and be like, this is what I've got. This is what I got to work with. Let's give him a shot. Let's see what we can do.
Shouldn't Mahomes look at this as like a blessing to go out and play a little bit more free? Because I feel like I would just start taking the shots and taking the chances, and then when the receivers don't come down with it, I'd be like, that's what you give me. I put the ball out there. I don't know what you want. But instead, it's almost like he's babying it a little bit. Like,
Mahomes is a competitor. He wants to win. So he's going to do whatever he thinks gives him the best chance of winning. So if he thinks he has to not take a shot here or there because he don't completely trust a receiver, I think he's not going to do it because he wants to win the game. So, I mean, that's just how Mahomes plays. But I think he's got to it's like a fine line, man, because if you let Mahomes completely off the leash, he's going to be chucking them 60 yards every play, never taking his check down. And then we're going to be back 3 years ago to when we're like, hey, Mahomes, they're just playing, the too high cover or the shell defense on you. Like, you've got to take what the defense give you. You got to go underneath. So you don't want to get back into that, right? But he's got to have a fine line to where it's like, I just got to take a shot sometimes and see how it goes. And I'd prefer him to do it in times where it's not triple coverage because that, to me, it's weird. I feel like he throws into double and triple coverage when he decides to take a shot. It's strange.
Yeah, that's why I've always said I feel like the shots are specific, designed, and he's supposed to do it. I don't think they're actually letting him be like, hey, take the shot here or there. That's why I don't fault him when you screenshot something and stop it and say, these 5 guys were wide open. He took this. Right. I think that's where he was supposed to go, and I think he's just running the offense, and we want to see it for something that it is. or that it's not, rather. Chiefs All the Way says, watching Patton practice before the game, so he was at the game.
Nice.
His passes were constantly behind the receivers and short. He does not have the fire he has had in the past, I didn't think. Nagster is the problem. So here's another Matt Nagy's being the problem guy. Appreciate the comment. I still don't think Matt Nagy's the problem.
No.
Like we said last time, I think Nagy could feed into him every once in a while, being like, come on, buddy, just keep going, keep going. I think Nagy might help the press issue, whereas Bieniemy's like, run the offense, do this, do that. I think like Bieniemy's more of the mentor, Nagy's more of like the buddy guy, maybe. And so that, I could give you that. I just don't think Matt Nagy's completely to blame. Everybody was on our butts last year when we said Eric Bieniemy wouldn't run the ball, and Andy did everything. And now the offense is struggling, and Andy's not doing it magically. It's all Nagy. So again, this is the curious case of the PFF. You know, when it helps you, it's good, and when it hurts you, it's bad, and all that. But
Mike, so
does Mahomes have a problem?
Matt Nagy's not new to this offense. I don't know why people are acting like that. He's not. He was our offensive coordinator back right before Mahomes started. I think it was his rookie season.
Right.
And Alex Smith's last year, Matt Nagy was still our offensive coordinator. And then last season, he was Patrick Mahomes' quarterback coach. So it's not like he's new to this offense. I don't think anybody should be pointing fingers at Matt Nagy, especially at this juncture. Because first of all, if it's really Matt Nagy, who's it actually fall on? Andy Reid. He's the head coach. So if your offensive coordinator is not doing what they need to do, he should have done stepped in by now. But the thing about it is we all know Big Red's calling this offense. Matt Nagy gets his say, Mahomes gets his say, and Kelsey gets his say every now and then. But this is all ran by Big Red.
The first part of the comment, though, said that he watched him in pregame, and he's leaving everything short, and he's underthrown, he's doing this.
I've seen a lot of those in the games.
Right. We've seen that translate over, so I don't think Chiefs All the Way's lying about anything.
No, not at all.
Is there something to do with Mahomes? Like, is Mahomes just off with timing this year? Like, what's up? Did his arm magically get weaker? Like, what happened? Do you think maybe the ankle's more of a problem than we think, and he don't have a good base to stand on?
Well, I mean, normally when you see something like this, you would think, well, maybe he didn't put in the time this offseason, or he didn't put in the effort. But we're talking about Patrick Mahomes here. We know that he put in the time, he put in the work, and he's been practicing, so that's not an issue. He's got things going on off the field. He got a new son. He's got different things like that. Still, Patrick Mahomes is awesome at prioritizing, doing his work, getting better. I don't think it's none of those things, man. I think it's just a tick off right now. I think it's just things that happen. It's just something quarterbacks go through, and he's the guy that's going to get through it. He just got to keep throwing the ball, man.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on. Comment number 5 here. Sapphire Madrone 7370. Stephen Mike, you say the receivers cannot get open, but fans are seeing them get open. Pat Mahomes seems to trust Kelsey only. He is trusting Rashee Rice a little now. There was more to the comment, but it was really long. I couldn't fit it on the screen. This was the majority of it. Steve, we keep saying that the receivers are struggling to get open. Now, tonight, you actually say that maybe the receivers are getting open and Mahomes not throwing it. We've seen it. We got the screenshot.
I just don't think you can go one way or the other. I just don't think you can, because I think there are times where the receivers do not get open at all, and Mahomes has nothing to do. But I think there's also times where Patrick Mahomes misses an open receiver. I think it's crazy to try to pinpoint one thing and blame everything on that one thing when really it's just the offense as a whole is just not clicking.
Well, let me interject. Patrick Mahomes is still a human, even though he plays football like the God's gift to the game, baby. The greatest.
The greatest.
Let me tell you, he's still only got one set of eyes, by the way.
Right.
He cannot survey the whole field. So when everybody's screenshotting and this and that and everything else, and they're like, well, over here, he's wide open. Okay.
Right.
But if the read is not there and he's looking over here, or he's already read there and he was guarded and now he's read over here, and then you break open, you don't see it. You can't just screenshot. And a lot of people are saying, look, when we're watching it, we're seeing this, we're seeing this. You guys are not taking into account this. You're not taking into account the all 22 where you see the whole field. You're not taking into account what the play is, what the hot route is.
Get a bird's eye view of this thing.
Right. Come on. It's getting a little crazy. And it's not saying that the average fan just can't see it, but I don't think the average fan understands everything that goes into one single play. There is literally, on a 4-wide play, there's 4 routes. There's a tight end running a route. There's the protection you got to set up beforehand. He's thinking about this. He's thinking about that. Dude, and it's split-second speed athletes like you wouldn't believe. It looks so much easier when you play Madden, Steve. It's so much easier.
think that's a problem. I think too many people play freaking Madden, bro, so they think they can do it in real life.
Yeah, because you're watching a screen. You see it in the All-22 forum. Like Mahomes sees it like that, by the way. It doesn't happen. Last comment of the day. Enriquez.
Our boy.
Oh, this channel keeps growing despite all the adversity. Thank you, Enriquez. Getting better and better, just like the Chiefs, baby. By the way, YouTube, please free the Williams brothers. Free the Williams brothers.
Free us, YouTube. Jeez.
Free us. Daggone it. But yeah, you guys can get over to patreon.com/allchieftub. We do extra videos over there. Go over there. It's $10 a month. It helps support us during this time. So we appreciate it. And by the way, we are still growing, Steve. We're trying to get to 20K before the year's over, and we're about to hit 15K.
Look, baby,
we're
that
just
was a
climbing
goal.
And climbing.
That was a goal that the ACU crew put out there for us. They said, hey, you guys are going to hit 20,000 subscribers before the season's over. Yeah, YouTube stepped in and kind of tried to put the screws to us right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
but
they did.
Nay, YouTube. Nay. We're still going to get it. We're still going to get it.
We are going to get it. Last thing before we go today, Steve, let's talk about Omenihu coming back because that's a big one. So we brought this up earlier. Omenihu's suspension is finally over. PJ Green writes in his article, Omenihu was suspended by the NFL for the first 6 games of the season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The suspension stems from a domestic violence case in January, a time when he played for the 49ers. So look, a lot of that when he was signed, we asked the question. We were like, look, did the Chiefs, why do they keep signing these guys with these problems? They had to have looked into this. And then when the suspension come down and they put down 6 games on them, that seems super extreme.
Right.
But they didn't even appeal it. So I don't know what's going on. And then when you read the case, it was supposed to have happened in public on a street corner. Then they write now that it happened at his home. I feel like nobody gets the truth of anything these days, even though there's paparazzi and cameras and Twitter and social media. Everybody's everywhere, but the truth can never come out. So it doesn't really matter what he did. Again, if he's doing this domestic violence stuff and this is real, this guy shouldn't even be on the team, by the way. But
Right.
Apparently the Chiefs don't think it's a problem. He claims that nothing never happened. Cool, fine with it. But I'll say this, on a football standpoint, I think it's going to be great, and I think it's an even bigger boost for this defense, who, by the way, starting to look like the 85 Bears out here,
Heck yeah,
playing
baby.
like a monster.
The greatest.
Team. Okay, look, we can't call him that just yet, but Omenihu helps the defensive line. I think he helps because we've seen Felix. He's not been horrible, but he's not really been to get all the snaps that he got, because we didn't think he's going to get this many snaps when he got drafted because of Omenihu, but the suspension and everything helped. Dude, he's not really been lights out. He's progressed okay. I'll give him that. But it's not had that guy. Is Omenihu going to provide that? Because right now, Mike Dana is the guy on the defensive line besides Karlaftis and Chris Jones.
Look, I think that's the expectation that a lot of people have for Charles Omenihu. He's going to come in here and be an absolute game wrecker. I think we got to pump our brakes on that a little bit. Because first of all, you got to look. He's been sitting out for 6 weeks, so he's 6 weeks behind everybody else, okay? Yeah. So he's finally going to get on the field. You got to give him a minute to get going. Also, it's not like he's been a crazy game wrecker in the past, but we did catch the guy coming off of his best season. So he's kind of getting in his prime, and I think we can get a lot out of Charles Omenihu. I think he's going to add a lot to this defense. I just don't expect him to come in and go crazy, Mike, but I think he's definitely going to improve our defense for sure. Just to have another guy that can bounce inside, outside, do a lot of different things, and get after the quarterback. And right now, we have guys that are doing that. Like you mentioned, George, he gets all kinds of pressure on the QB. He's always disrupting things. Love George Karlaftis. People that don't like him, no names or anything. JT, don't run. But either way, this guy can play. He can ball. He's always getting after the quarterback. He's batting down passes. Like I say, he's disrupting, but he can't close the gap. He's about a half step slow every time. I think Charles Omenihu has that speed. So if he can start getting the pressure that these other guys are getting, I think we'll see a lot more sacks.
I honestly think we're going to see more production and a bigger impact from him when he kicks to the inside.
Yeah.
I actually think when he kicks inside, you're going to have a little bit more. I think he is going to now allow him and Dana to come in, and then maybe Chris Jones plays more of that 9 technique. You don't have to kick Chris Jones in as much now. Or, by the way, he can go up and down. This is just going to free up Spags some more. A lot of people are having trouble with the whole Spags and the defense thing. They're saying they can't really still trust this, that this is a trick. We've not played any good quarterbacks just yet. So this week, are we playing a good quarterback, Steve?
For the love of God, look at me.
Okay.
Steve Spagnuolo has been our defensive coordinator for 4 years. In 4 years, we have been to 3 Super Bowls and won 2. And the only reason we didn't even win that one, it was not because of the defense. It was because we had no offensive line.
That's true.
Also, we lost the AFC Championship game against the Bengals because of our offense completely stalling out and looking like garbage. For the love of God, can we lay off of Spags? This guy is awesome. He's got a young group. They're nothing but a bunch of rookies and second-year players, and he has them playing at this level already at this point in the season. Get off his back, man.
So, look, if they dominate Justin Herbert coming up, does everybody have to eat the crow on Spags?
They need to be eating it already. Why are they even saying stuff about Spags? Like, let's get that straight. It's just silly. It's ignorance. It's dumb. It's pointing the finger at something that don't need to be pointed at. I don't know. It's weird, man.
Steve, they're always pointing the finger. They're pointing just like this, and I'm pointing at everybody watching. You guys go ahead, hit that sub button, click that bell. Thanks for liking. We'll see you guys next time. Go Chiefs.
There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight.